Hello, this is DJ Shiftee from New York City. I'm here at BPM College in Tel Aviv, Israel, and I'm about to do a workshop on all the things in DJing I like to do to keep myself interested. Do cue points, mash things together, hit pads. I get bored very easily. My favorite thing to do when I DJ is try to figure out new ways to work with the sound. So rather than just have one song play, then another song plays with it, and then this other song is now playing on its own, I like to think about ways that I can do more with my music. And so what I want to do is go through some techniques, some tricks, some things in technology that I like to use to allow myself to do more than just play a song and then play a song. And so hopefully, whether you use turntables, a controller, or you put your laptop on a microwave and when your Hot Pocket is done, you play the next song. I don't know what it is. But hopefully this can be interesting to you in some way. It will be somewhat like scratch-centric, just because that's what I like to do. But I hope that whatever, if you hate scratching, if it offends you, you can still get something from this workshop. So the first thing, we'll stand up, is I'll just give you an example of doing like a more normal, straightforward mix. So like one song is going to play, and then they're going to play together, and then the other song is going to play on its own. All right, so here we go. Playing together. One is this one. One is this one. Okay, so actually I did slightly more. But okay, a song played, then they played together, and now this one's playing. That's sort of, to me, like the most normal kind of DJing. Track plays, track plays. Okay, so that's sort of the thing that I'm assuming most of you can do already. So now I want to give you some examples of approaches, techniques that can allow you to do more than just have a song play and then have another song play. So the first thing would be, and this I'm just going to indulge myself, would be like hardcore turntablism. So that's lots of scratching and tricks, and this is a way you can do more with your music. So I'm just going to give you an example of hardcore turntablism. This one's the hardest to do. It takes years. The other things you can just probably do right away. So here's an example of hardcore turntablism. I messed up a little bit. Okay, but that's like, okay, you spend like years locked in a closet and you make your hands do things. That's the hardest way. So that if you want to do more things with your music, you can just like say goodbye to all your friends, find a closet, bring your equipment inside, and then just practice for like 2 years. That'll get you to be bad. And then after that, you can start to get good. Okay, so the first, I think, like more accessible technique that I want to look at is using cue points. Cue points are a really, really powerful tool. Even if you aren't going to do like tricks and things like that, it's very, very powerful because it really lets you, the DJ, have total control over when the different parts of your song come out. And so the song is not the boss of you when you're using cue points. You are the boss of the song. So if you want to only play the end of the track, you can do that. If you want to do that, then jump to the beginning, you can do that. If you want to only play the word yo like 10 times in a row and that's all you need from this song, you can do that. So it really lets you have a lot of creative control and authorship over how your tracks come out. So in this track, this is a track that I'll sometimes use as a way to test whether an audience is ready to sort of like switch their vibe. So if they've been kind of like, we haven't been doing trap yet or something, and I want to get us to some trap to see if it'll work, maybe I'll use this song, or going the other way. If all we've been doing is dancing like this, and I want to see if we can, I don't know, dance like this, then I'll try this song as well. So so maybe I'm like playing the song.
Hey, yo, yellow. Nice shallow question.
So let's say I look up right now and I'm like, the people are like looking at me strange or something. I can use my cue points now to get to a new part of the song and have more control over how the track is coming out. Now we're back to this. Okay, so first thing, we're looking at cue points, and the first idea here is just really having control over when the different parts of your song come out. And really thinking about not just the song as a whole, but how you can use the different sections of the track. This is also a really useful thing to do in the mix when you're mixing two tracks together. And so I'm going to show you an example of that.
Got plans for this rap game.
All right, so what's going to happen here is this song is going to play. I'm going to mix in this other song like normal. But then when the drop of this one happens, at that moment, I'm going to jump back to the beginning of the first song. So I get a unique mix between the two tracks, which is not how it would have been had they just been playing on their own. So let's see that.
I got plans. I got plans for this rap game.
So we have the two together, and I'm about to jump back to the beginning of this one.
I got plans for this rap game. I got plans for this rap game. I got plans for this rap I got plans for this. I got plans. got plans for this rap. I got plans for this rap.
Okay, so all the scratching stuff aside, really what the idea here is, I'm a DJ, and I have a lot of plans for this rap game. I want to make sure my audience knows I have all these plans, so I really want to like hit them over the head with the fact that I have all these plans for the rap game. So I'm going to do the same kind of thing now, but I'm just going to have the loop go, and you'll see it's already going to be a more interesting kind of mix. So let's say I was back here.
I got plans. I got plans for this rap game. I got plans for this rap game. I got plans for this rap game. I got plans for this. I got plans for this. I got plans for this rap game. I got plans for this rap game. I got plans for this rap game. I got plans for this. I got plans for this. I got plans for this rap game.
So I think everyone, oh, thank you. But I think everyone here can like, just go like, boom, boom. But to me, this is already like, one, it's a more engaging way of putting these two tracks together for an audience. And then for me as a creative person, it's more interesting for me as well to work with the tracks in this way, once again, rather than just letting them play. The other thing that I did in that little routine is I really took control of the beat that I was scratching to and jumped ahead in the track. Because what happens in this beat over here, so far it's still okay, I think. Like, we got like some energy going. It's like, so what I did is I skipped that whole section. So because I wanted to keep the energy going. That's an example using cue points to have control over the track and how it comes out. So while I was in the middle of doing the like, see, I jumped ahead on the beat as well by doing a double hit and then back into the scratch. Okay. So that's cue points, using cue points as a way to jump around to different parts and to get interesting combinations in your mix. Cue points are also really useful for if you want to treat a track almost like an instrument or like a sample pad. So one thing that I personally love to do is anytime there's a melody in a song where there's nothing underneath it, or any time there's a vocal phrase, what I like to do is put a cue point on every single word of the vocal phrase or every single note of the melody, and then I can, when the time comes in my song, sort of like have a jam. So I'll give you an example of that.
All day, nigga. All day, nigga. How long you niggas? How much time you spent at the mall? All day, nigga. How many minutes you got?
I'll accelerate this.
How long they keep you? How long you been? All day, nigga.
So I did a double jump there.
All day, nigga. All day, nigga. All day, nigga. All day, nigga. All
And so that's how I get to that song. And what I'm doing there is I have...
All day, all day, all day, all day. All day, nigga.
Thanks. And this is something I do personally like crazy. Like anytime I find a sample like that where I can do this, I'll do it. And the reason is it lets me do performance type things, but in the context of doing a normal kind of DJ set. So one of the things that happens is sometimes it's tough to sort of do a performance where you're like, hey, everyone, look at me, I'm doing cool stuff, and then have that transition well back into people dancing and having a good time. So when you approach your tracks like this as tools that you can use, then when you're done using them like that, they're just a normal track again. So it becomes really easy to transition back into just playing songs for people to dance to. I'm going to use cue points now. What I'm going to do now is I'm also going to add an effect into the mix. And so that's a whole nother extra thing that you can use to add extra spice to your songs as they come out. And so I'm going to use a flanger. Yeah, and so with this track, I'm going to put a flanger on, so just so we hear how it would sound other. And then with the flanger, so you see it gives it just a normal kind of thing that you could do. It can give it much more movement. Normally when I do this, I do like a little intro, so I'll do the intro for you.
Faster than a speeding bullet. More powerful than a locomotive. Able to leap tall buildings at a single bound. Look, up in the sky, it's a bird.
It's a plane.
It's
Shiftee, low down, gritty and grimy. Shiftee, low down, gritty and grimy. Shiftee, low down, gritty and grimy. Shiftee, low down, gritty and grimy.
now another exciting episode in the adventures of
what I'm going to do now is I'm going to keep going, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix in a song, but what I'm going to do is on top, I'm going to put a loop to play on top of my mixing. And this is going to be another example of something that we can do to do more, which is not just do 2 decks. Have a 3rd deck, have a 4th deck, and it can be as simple as you'll see, having 1 loop play in addition to what's happening. So here we go. What's happening here is it gives me a way different kind of texture for how I'm going through my mix. So now I've sort of done my normal 1 to 2 deck mixing, but I'm just putting a loop on top. So now I've switched over to this new song over here, and I'm going to let the loop go. I'm going to keep it going. And now I can mix in whatever I want.
Keep it going, hold up, I'ma keep it going. Hold up, I'ma keep it going. Hold up, I'ma keep. Hold up, I'ma keep.
And then I'm just like,
Keep it going.
so I do all that, but then I'm just back into my normal kind of DJ flow. Like I do some stuff, I have whatever I want to have happen. I have my cue points going, I got 3 decks going, I got all this stuff going. But then when I want it to be, it can also just be a single song playing, and I'm thinking about what's the next song to play. So I think a good sort of approach, if you want to do more, is to just sort of figure out ways where it can be part of your normal kind of DJ workflow. And if you build up little kind of routines like this, I think the DJ mentality is still the same. The DJ mentality is you're playing and you're thinking, what's the next thing that should happen? Should I play this song? Should I jump on a table? Should I take my shirt off and paint a smiley face with a Sharpie? So whatever the party needs. But sometimes if you have routines, the things that you can think about and the things that you can go to in your tool belt, they can be these kind of techniques. Let's look at another kind of technique which is useful in doing sort of more stuff. And this is the idea of pad drumming. So I did a little bit of that in that Slaughterhouse routine, but I was doing my pad drumming with a song that was in one of these decks. So I was doing it kind of with a track. But what you can do is in Traktor is you can have all kinds of one-shot samples loaded in that you can do just like a drum machine. So. So you can do, in the middle of your set, if you grab and chop up some samples, you can do a sort of live pad kind of performance. I don't need to have like 64 samples with an array of drum sounds, just even. So let's say this track was playing. So you can just immediately have some fun just by grabbing some samples and dropping them in. I'll do an example of how to use some drum machine kind of sample stuff with some scratching. So let me grab here.
Woke up half dressed, still buzzing. Text said I keep it 100. Fuck my boss, text him I ain't coming. Keep it 100. He like another one, I stay blooded. Text 10 dimes, yeah I kept it 100. You know another night's coming. Yeah I keep it 100. Keep it 100. Keep it 100. Keep it 100. Keep it 100.
And then we're back to playing one song. So a lot of what I like to do personally is try to figure out ways to combine these sort of like new technology, as you can see, combine these new technology sort of things with more traditional skill set. So a lot of what I think about is if I can like do a thing with one hand, like what could I do with the other hand to make it more interesting? So for instance, this drum beat here. And then, so in this particular routine, what I do is put a scratch on top. So it's thank you. So yeah, it's sort of like combining skill sets. And in the first part, what's happening is I have the drums here, and these are controlling the same thing. These pads here. And so I do this sort of thing where I cross over back and forth. Part of it is to look cool. That helps. Like, to make it look more hard, that's something. But also, when I'm over here, what happens is I can get to my crossfader really quickly. And so the idea for the first part of that routine is to use the scratch as almost like a hi-hat, or use them like a percussion. So that's like the first part. And then
Keep it 100.
yeah. So I'm combining, going back and forth, hitting the pads, same thing over here. And
the cue point is on the mixer too?
no, the samples. And with the, so he's asking, am I hitting the cue points on the mixer too? And the answer is no, I'm hitting the same samples. And it's a little weird with this particular mixer, because right now I have access to 16 samples on my machine. But on the mixer, I have only access to 4 samples. And so what happens, the way this works together, is that for each different column, whatever sound is the sound that's being played, the equivalent pad over here will play that sound. So I have, for instance, 4 kick sounds. And this first pad here will play whichever was the last kick sound I played over here. So this one kind of lets me access whatever was the last thing played in a particular column. Same thing over here. Yeah. Yes?
Is that a default configuration, or you got some special mapping for that?
So the question is it a default mapping, or is it a default configuration, or do I have some special mapping? And it's default that these will play whichever one is the one that's picked out of those samples. What's not default is the mapping here, where I've just said instead of clicking here on each individual sample, what I do is I hit these pads. So just the only thing that's custom is my way of accessing those particular samples. The question is, if you take things and you use, and sync is on, will it all continue to be synced? And the answer is by default, yes. And that's one of the things that's very fun for me personally, which is the way sync works in Traktor is when you turn it from off to on, yes, in that moment, it will give you like a perfect match of the 2 tracks. But otherwise, if sync is just on both decks, it just makes the speeds the same speed, and then you still have to drop it in on the one correctly. So what that does, though, it allows you to make anything you load into the deck be the right speed matching whatever it is that's playing. And so that holds true for scratching as well. Here, I'll show you an example. So here we have a track that's 94 beats per minute. And I'm going to bring in a track that's 86 beats per minute. I'm going to turn on sync, and you'll see it already, now it's playing at 90, the same BPM, but you'll see I'll be able to still scratch everything. so there, thanks. It made me feel good. So there, I'm triggering these different samples, scratching them, doing all the same stuff we were doing before. The difference is when I drop it and release it, it's the exact right speed. So this is something that I personally love. Having the sync allow me to sort of like immediately get into the part that's interesting to me. For me, it's not necessarily so interesting to spend a few seconds beat matching something, but it is very interesting for me personally to get in and get into the songs and jump around to different parts and scratch them and put them all together with drum sounds and things like that. So the sync can be a very powerful tool because of that. You can still do all this other stuff while you're syncing. So these are actually really cool too. These are the D2 controllers. I'm going to just, I guess, hold it upside down. But you get a screen, which is nice. And you have all kinds of crazy controls on these guys. So maybe for the last thing, and then I'll take some more questions, is I'll show a routine that uses these things. It's going to use scratching. It's going to use cue points. It's going to use effects. It's going to use remix decks. It's going to use freeze mode on here, where anytime you have it, you'll see it on the screen. Anytime you have a sample, it breaks it up, and you can trigger the different parts. And so we'll try a routine that just like basically like combines everything that I know how to do, basically. All right, here we go, for real.
Can you dig it?